My dear friends, can you hear me? That's the most important question. It's worth noting that this week's Torah portion, Titzaveh, which English Bibles translate from the original Hebrew as Exodus 27 through 30, is the only portion from the opening word of the book of Exodus through the end of the Torah in which Moses is not mentioned. The early rabbis offered an intriguing explanation for the omission. They presumed that when Moses saw the sanctuary was already built and that the faith of Israel had finally been firmly rooted, he thought that he could just step aside. But Moses, as you know, lived to regret that decision. For no sooner had he left the people to their own devices and delayed his return from the top of Mount Sinai, the people lost faith and prevailed upon Aaron to build that golden calf. Apologists for Moses offer a different explanation as to why we don't see his name. They say it's as if Moses steps aside for a week to allow his brother Aaron to bask in the glory. Perhaps, but Moses is still behind the scenes this week, just as God is behind the Purim story, even if the book of Esther is the only book in the entire Bible where the name of God is not explicitly mentioned. We don't really know why the name of God is omitted from the book of Esther. One explanation is that the story is not really a true one, and God's name cannot be associated with anything less than the truth. Or maybe God's name is missing because of the revenge which our people perpetrated against their enemies at the end of the story, and revenge is not godly. Or maybe God is hiding within Esther, whose very name, Esther, means, among other things, hidden. Still, others attribute Mordecai's statement to Esther, "If you keep silent at such a time as this, deliverance will arise for the Jewish people from another place." Perhaps an allusion to God, but that thesis is hard to prove. Perhaps God is in goodness everywhere if we open our eyes to see it. Ditto for evil, seeing what we don't see. As evil as Haman is in this week's Purim story, might our focus on him keep our eyes from seeing evil in one who we normally view as just a goofy, sexist autocrat, King Ahasuerus? What do our eyes miss seeing? For one thing, when Haman was infuriated by Mordecai's refusal to submit, Haman reports to King Ahasuerus that, quote, "There is a certain people scattered abroad. Their laws are different from those of every other people, and they do not keep the king's laws, so that it is not for the king's profit to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let it be decreed that they be destroyed." One might reasonably expect that any civilized king would have at least questioned Haman's motives. Is it no small matter to annihilate an entire people, no matter what the motive might be? But Ahasuerus not only yields to Haman, he even agrees to finance the project, washing his hands of the whole affair. He declares to Haman, and let me quote the Bible, "The money is given to you, the people also, to do with them as it seems good to you." So far as Ahasuerus was concerned, this was Haman's administrative task. Standing on the sidelines, the king divorces himself from all responsibility and returns to his main preoccupation, his harem, the women. The only reason Ahasuerus relents is as a personal favor to his ravishingly beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous Jewish queen. If we're honest about it, seeing what we don't see, the king's libido was why he chose Esther over Haman. The principle of doing the right thing had nothing to do with it. Our eyes either go to Haman, boo, for the evil, or to Esther, wow, for the beauty. But our internal eye glosses over the king. The analogy for us in modern times is ever clear. The ills of today's society are not only the results of sinister plots by the Hamans or other conspiracy theories, it's the indifference of the Ahasueruses. Nobody seems to see. Nobody seems to pay attention to. Sitting with y'all in the congregation 6 of the past 11 weeks during my time off the Bema has also enabled me to see some good things I hadn't seen before from my Bema perspective. Sitting with many individuals and families like you who attend Friday night services and sit through this entire service respectfully just for the closing memorial prayer to hear one name of your loved one was a more moving experience for me with you out there than leading the service from up here. Seeing things from within the community is totally different than seeing things from up here, including readings in the prayer book we don't normally read, and which I never noticed before until I sat with you. Readings and sayings, for instance, which remind me of the best clergy team I know. Rabbis Katie Bess Feivel and our cantorial gem, Abby Strauss. If a religion is best made known by the lives which express it, what great expressions we have in this clergy team. I think, I'm not going to tell you what page, you can find it some other Friday night. But I think this Rabbi Jonas in your book was referring to Rabbi Bess and her great work with our religious school when Rabbi Jonas said, and I quote, "God has placed abilities and challenges in every human heart. Every child has the duty, and every adult, whether man or woman, to realize those gifts God has given every child of God." I stumbled upon another sentence from the Jewish law code, known as the Shulchan Aruch, in this blue book, regarding what most people don't see our rabbis do, with just 2 or 3 prepared sentences between the prayers, between the music. It says, quote, "Better a few prayerful words spoken with intention than many words prayed mechanically." When announcements are made about adult learning at Temple, whether here, online, or in print, Rabbi Bamberger's words in your prayer book on another page in the blue book I hadn't seen reminded me of Rabbi Feivel, and I quote, "Without surrendering the right to think and act in freedom, I can believe in a very literal sense of a God who revealed the Torah to Israel, and I can try to carry on the Jewish tradition of study, learning, deeds of love, and prayer." I saw this rabbi, Katie Bowman, leap out of the prayer book in so many places, including, there she goes again, including on another page in your lap, Joshua Loth Liebman's words, and I quote, listen to this is her. "Morality," he writes, "cannot be created by God. Morality is never a divine gift. Morality is a human achievement. It's not the child of grace, but of effort." And elsewhere, the lessons of Torah are meant to be applied to our lives, guiding us to live ethically and righteously. That's Rabbi Katie's Torah, Rabbi Bess's Torah, Rabbi Feivel's. And what about the soulful musical spirit and Torah of Abby before I close? I saw what I could only see sitting with you in the congregation when I read the words of Nachman of Bratslav on a page describing Abby. Quote, "Words of prayer do not ascend to God automatically. They need the burning desire of your heart in order to rise like offerings to heaven." That's Abby. So my prayer on this Shabbat and the point of tonight's sermon is to look for what's there, even and especially when you don't see it. Look for God in the Purim story, even when God is silent. Look for Moses in this week's Torah portion, even if his name isn't written. Look to those in power like the king Ahasuerus we overlook for the indifference to the plight of others. And please look for the living Torahs I saw and see every day in and through your rabbis, Cantor, and each of you. Amen.